This is Disclosure Now with Arkeem Ra and Brian Zeng, a show where we expose the truths that are nefariously hidden from humanity. Today's guest is Amaria Sweet, a Montauk Project Survivor who served with Arkeem under Project Phoenix 2. We will be discussing the various abilities Montauk time soldiers have and how we can re-establish them in the here and now to use them for positive purposes.
Hey everybody, it's Arkeem and Brian. Welcome to another episode of Disclosure Now. You may have to bear with us here as usual, just to kind of demonstrate. We're having technical difficulties. I have no idea what's going on. This is what Amaria has looked like to us for the past 5 minutes. So good job, StreamYard, as usual. But anyway, I just wanted to bring up, while hopefully we get this stuff figured out, a lot of times it's figuring out the microphone hooking up and allowing permissions and everything. That could be what it is. Hopefully we can figure it out and continue the show for you in the manner that we intended. But I did want to bring up to people that I now officially have a new email, consultwitharkeem@gmail.com. And my idea here is I want more people who've been a part of these programs, or even people who are curious, to schedule time to speak with me. And before I brought this up, and I had like a price limit, it was like, you had to give me a certain amount of money, and I'm doing it this time with this new email where, yes, if you have the finances available to you, I would appreciate it if you could donate accordingly. But I want to make it so that people who are broke, like, I know what that's like, I know how it can be, we don't always have disposable income. I don't want to bar those people from being able to talk with me. So I just wanted to start this episode by making it very clear that I know that my work is supposed to be like directly talking with people, directly working with people on a regular basis. And I just feel like, just to get the ball rolling, I just need to really throw it out there and not have like a price limit on it that will bar people from my services. Because really, to be honest with you right now, I'm still figuring out what I'm doing. And I just want to go into it with people understanding that we're all learning this together. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. And then I just also want to thank everybody who has joined the Patreon. I highly recommend checking that out if you haven't already. And I lowered the price. So if you're part of my Patreon, you're going to notice that's a little cheaper for you now. It's $5 a month. I want to make it more accessible to people. I want to make my work more accessible to people. I'll probably even have some free stuff that's only over there where there's no, you go on there, you can kind of get a little preview. It's only getting bigger, and I'm growing it more. And we also have the Discord server now, which that's the Discord server name. And then I wanna hand the microphone over to Brian, so he can give the little spiel about the conference, because that is still a bit of a distance away. It's next year, but it's coming up faster than you might think.
Yeah, thank you, Arkeem. Once again, it's going to be in July 15th to 18th at the lovely Serrata Beach Resort and St. Pete Beach. And we're partnering up once again with Day of Being in their 5th year. It's a free beach weekend that's a sister event to us. And the Super Soldier early bird tickets before the new year are still on sale. We also have couples tickets, so that's an additional discount if you get 2 at a time. And also, it's in terms of the presenter lineup. We're having some amazing presenters that we had last year. We're having some new ones. And, one thing that we want to announce is that Christopher Jacobs will be doing a live channeling, maybe with the Sasquatch people. We'll see who wants to come through next year. And we're also looking forward to adding workshops and panels. So we're expecting at least triple the people from this first year, and a lot of the people who didn't get to make it are going to be among that crowd.
So yeah, it should be a lot of fun. There's really, everybody that was there had a great time, and I'm looking forward to doing it again next year.
One thing is, it's fulldisclosuremovement.org.
I messed up there. Let me edit that for people.
Oh yeah, no worries.
Yeah,
just I don't want to send people to the wrong website.
Yeah. No, what's annoying about this thing too is I just have a lot of gripes with StreamYard lately. I have to make it all over again every time I make a show because I run. If I had one show, it'd be fine. But since they're all different, they don't save it. Like there's no way to save it. So usually I'm correct. I know that I normally put the correct thing. Did I do that right this time? FordisclosureMovement.org. Okay, and then hopefully the link in the description is correct. I think I might even forgot to do that.
I know.
Sorry about
These
that.
that's fine. The audience is hearing it.
Yeah, they know what's going on.
Is Amaria able to join?
So she told me she's resetting her computer.
Okay, excellent.
Because she thinks that, and it's to her. She's like this. She said, "I think someone is fucking with my system." So what else happening again? We got people trying to join the chat, and it's all difficult for them, and all these technical difficulties. It's nothing we haven't experienced before in the past. So I really hope we can get Amaria on the show. This is really.
And to give some of her background, because I did a consult with her, and she's very powerful. And part of the deal, people out there in the audience, and thank you for being here, is that a lot of the folks in our community are literally military grade, secret space program grade remote viewers, psychics, shamans, psychic mediums, contactees, with, definitely out of this world and time travel type experiences in many cases. And so getting to avail yourself of that wisdom and knowledge without having to kidnap us is really great.
Yeah, it is definitely. See, and this is something that I'm really looking forward to this conversation about, is because this is kind of a new trip I'm trying to get on. It's like, okay, guys, like, yeah, we had all this stuff happen to us, and it's important we work through our trauma and we talk about it, and also to expose it so that it gets held accountable. But we really need to emphasize more on not only healing, but also getting our abilities. Yes, I can see her. Getting our abilities back and using them for good. Yay, we got you in the studio. Awesome. It's good to see you, Amaria. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here with us. Wow, your internet is...
Thank you so much for having me.
Would you maybe want to try, just for the sake of your internet connection being kind of screwy, maybe turn off your camera? So, because I think it'd be better to at least be able to hear you clearly than not have you on the show at all. Okay, perfect. Can you try?
We'll try that.
Okay, it sounds a little bit better. Okay, awesome. Welcome to the show, Amaria.
Oh, good.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. Oh, I said thank you.
I think I'm gonna turn your microphone down a little bit because it's like peaking. Here, automatically adjust volume. There we go. That'll maybe help. Can you try talking now? I'm so sorry for all these technical difficulties, Amaria. I can be this way sometimes, but we work through them. How are you sounding now?
Are you able to hear me clearly now?
Yeah, it's very glitchy. I hope that it improves over time. This is Let
me try something. I'm gonna go upstairs closer around.
Yeah.
It's down in the basement.
We can barely hear you. We're not gonna. The people.
It usually works fine.
Yeah.
There we go. Better.
Okay. Not much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it still like sounds bubbly, and they can barely understand you because it's going like in and out at 1,000,000 miles a second. Like it's going in and out really fast. It's like
that's really weird.
Okay, now I think I can hear you. You sound pretty clear now. Can you start saying something? Okay, it still sounds
good.
It still sounds kind of weird, but we're just gonna try.
Let's try like this. Amaria, why don't you try saying a sentence, a little bit of your background, and we'll see if it's workable or not.
We can't hear you if you're saying anything. What is going on? Yeah, we can't hear you anymore, Amaria. I don't know what's going on.
And a lot of people in our community do report getting messed with, especially electronically.
Yeah, when we want to talk. So I guess I can just kind of say, to fill in the gaps here, Amaria and I served at Project Phoenix together. And there's a lot of stuff I really wanted to get into. I did want to get into more than just the aspect of, our abilities and using them for positive purposes. but also some other things that had to do with Montauk and stuff like that. And I was really looking forward to this. Oh, maybe she'll join us again. But I think that that's fairly normal when we want to crack open some new eggs and talk about some new things, right? Make a new omelet. They don't like that because there's a lot of information I think that will come forward on this that is probably new. If we could get her to come on and have it not sound like garbage, um, I guess maybe could you? Well, she I think she's gonna try to rejoin, and fingers crossed it actually works. But maybe you could go in a little bit more of like you did some work with her and just what it did for you. Maybe your microphone's off.
So with Amaria, she has very powerful remote viewing abilities, among others, and she's able to tune in to people and do the sort of work that she was doing in regarding like energies and getting them to be oriented properly and to spin properly. And a lot of the descriptions she was using during our consultation, it's similar, like the language it's there to a lot of stuff in like the Ascension glossary and Bibliotheca Pleiades, where the way light language work or light bodies work and past lives and the different types of energies that we have. In doing my consult with her and comparing it to like the consults with other people, I'm finding that people are definitely picking up on these common veins and common themes that are definitely at least running through my own testimony, it seems.
So
And
what you're saying is you're kind of having different people remote view look into you and stuff like that, and
many different
you
people.
find a common thread.
Absolutely. There are a lot of people are seeing me in a blue navy kind of uniform on a ship. That's a big one. David Purcell says that his recall is that I was with him on a Nachtwaffen craft as an astro navigator. Susan Long and Veronica Bartolini, among others, have seen me in the Hulk program. Gloria Haas, when she remote views it, she says that that's correct. Soma Ara, who's a Palladian starseed and contactee, her contacts say that that's accurate. Christopher Jacobs, some of his contacts who he's in contact with, they say it's true. It rings true at least. It's factually correct. Was their kind of response when I asked him, like, how is this correct? He said that yes, and so. For me, the joke in the community is I can't see anything or remember anything. And then having my consult with Amara, where she's able to dial in a lot of this stuff and give me details and then some. It's very consistent with what everyone else is saying. I think it's very powerful because, again, it's why a lot of people are taken in the first place is because these abilities are maybe more activated and some than others.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Is it while all of us I think get interfered with to make our abilities not prevalent in the here and now, I think that I guess maybe it works better on some people. Maybe you're in one of the unfortunate cases where when they turn you off, so to speak, or whatever, it works a lot better on you. Just to update people on Maria, by the way, she said she's rebooting her internet router.
Nice.
And she's very adamant about doing a show with us, and she is also adamant about the fact that this is weird and it seems like interference to her. So
she's really great at finding attachments and implants, by the way. And like for example, we're talking about this. She seems like a lot of the technology and implants that she was describing are very similar to what a lot of other psychics and remote viewers have detected, not just in me, but in other people too. So, she found there's black cube technology, there's red cube technology. There's also like she's finding like squid attachments in people. And it's really funny because when I've talked to Christopher Jacobs and Audrey Walters and Sean Bond, they're talking about these squid attachment beings. And it's really interesting. Like, You know, it's just kind of a funny detail. People aren't talking like cat attachments; they're talking about squid attachments, and it's jelly tech. And so apparently
That sounds familiar. I will also say that when you talked about you in the blue jumpsuit, I got a flash of that, and like I saw it, and I totally think I like at the very least ran into you once or twice, because like that was like whoa, that like put that image in my mind, and I was like whoa. All right, let's see how you're coming in now. How are you sounding?
Okay, I don't hear the popping on my side now, so.
Yay, you sound good. You
Oh,
sound
good.
great.
I was having a psychic attack and there was a remote viewer in my house, and so I took care of him.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
tell us about that. This is perfect. This is a case study right here. How did you deal with a filthy bastard?
Well, just like I do entities, I consider anything that's against my will an attack, and so I defend myself. Basically, I go to heart center, and if you've seen the movies like in Star Trek when a bomb goes off in space and it goes and there's a ping, yeah, they're gonna feel it. And so it's like I gave them an etheric wedgie and a butt plug, so they're not gonna like it for a while.
Now, are you able to register what their reaction was? Did you get a sense of that?
Yeah, they're not very happy right now. They feel a lot of pain and they're actually pretty pissed off. I have a feeling it's probably a 3-letter agency, but this is what I think of those, and they need to leave us alone.
Now, is
'Cause,
this is this a handler with Project Oblivion?
it probably could be. I mean, I'm not as good. Like, our team is amazing with figuring out like exactly what things are. Part of what I do is I can see things. Mine's more of like a visual, but I don't get like a lot of names, a lot of like I guess the details, the fine details. And so I just figure on the rough details and like, okay, we're just gonna do this. And I just go by my visuals and by what I feel. And then the remote viewing, the astral projection and everything. So, but I did put a big shield around me and we can continue.
So, and Amaria, you're more than welcome to share any of the info and data you got from our consultation for the show. Just because I know, if anyone has any questions, like I like to practice full disclosure myself. So,
Sure.
feel free to share. And then I'm sure you and Arkeem may have some shared recalls or recalls the testimony that corroborate each other in many points. And I hope we get to that in our show.
Sure, yeah. I think anything would be great on those lines. Just I
I'll
always
be straightforward as far as confirmation of our relationship in Project Phoenix 2. When I shared that picture of the show, I was very much so expecting they might just not know how to react to it. They had to have seen it. You look so much like my mom,
yeah,
my quote unquote biological mother. I'm gonna send her the link to this after and tell her to check it out.
oh, that's so cool.
I've figured out that my mom. So I think this is important to bring up, and I don't want to. Well, no, it's important. We're gonna talk about everything. Don't worry, guys.
Let's
We're
just
gonna get
go
to the
for
other
it.
stuff. But I do want to bring up so I figured out that Penny Bradley is my mom. So this was the beginning of stuff. Is her messaging me and being like, "I am fairly certain that you are my son. I don't expect you to say yes or no or confirm right away. It's kind of a big bomb to drop on someone, but sit with that and let me know how you feel about it." And I'll be honest with you, for a long time, I was like, I feel connected to her, but I was like, not sure about that. And I think the reason why is because they never let her actually raise me.
Right.
That's the only reason why. They never let her actually raise me or be my mother. So not in one incarnation, not one, has she
Wow.
raised me as her own son. That's
Which is dramatic for both of you.
Yeah, so that's kind of fucked up, of course. But
It's very fucked up.
then the thing that I thought about it, this is probably one of the most mind-blowing moments for me and all this stuff. I have little confirmations here and there that keep me going, you know what I mean? Because people try to gaslight us so much and stuff like that. But you have these certain confirmations where it's like no one can take that from you. And for me, one of my confirmations is I'm like reading John's book, or no, it was before I read his book. I was just like thinking, okay, we and John know we figured out we're brothers. And from my understanding, we're half brothers, meaning different mom, but same dad, right? So I messaged him and I was like, hey, do you know who your dad is? Because I'm pretty sure like that's where we're familiar, we're related on that side of the family. And he's like, yeah, Carl Emmerman. He was a U-boat World War II, bad German. I hate how you gotta dance around words on YouTube. It's so annoying. But that's what he was. He was one of the bad ones, and kind of a ruthless guy. And apparently, what I found out through John's book, he was, if not like the head, like for what appeared to be the handler of Project Ibis was Carl Emmerman. And I remember a lot of stuff from seeing his face. I remember tracking him down in the Montauk, or I guess like when Montauk was still going on, and it was like towards the end when before everything kind of came crashing down on us, so to speak. And I remember finding him and telling him I wanted to go back to the reality I came from. And he was like in this rocking chair and stuff in Germany. And I remember he told me, he's like, you can't. He was just like, it's not possible. Like, it's like finding your reality that you come from is like trying to find a grain of sand in a million beaches or whatever. But the thing that was so crazy is the fact that you can Google Carl Emmerman and you can show, in fact, I'll do it right now. Why not? Hold on. Yeah, he comes up right away. And there's a certain picture of him. Yeah, this is the one.
And Amaria, are you familiar with Project Ibis?
That one I'm not as familiar with. There's some that come up that people talk about. It hasn't been the base of my studies. A lot of my studies have been in the spiritual realm. Oh, wow. Wow, you look so much like your dad. That's so fascinating.
Yeah, and another crazy thing is my supposed biological dad here also looks a lot like him. And I showed that picture of him to my family, and we're pretty fascinated by it and kind of dumbfounded by it, to say the least, because it's like he looks so much like us. And so then I've discovered just more and more that there's that connection there. And I don't know. I have the feeling that maybe you're my sister. I have no idea.
That would be interesting, really interesting. Because I love my family so very much. I've always felt like an outcast, and I know my sister Desiree has as well in her own different ways and realms. I actually found a picture of myself from, I think it was the 1400s, in the Collins family. And I've been trying to figure out which Collins it is. It's so crazy. But I haven't since, like, the past few months. It's like somebody scrubbed the internet on it, and I haven't been able to find the damn picture. So I'm like, where is this person that looks like me? And so that's been interesting. Yeah, that would be fascinating to know, like, who all were siblings to. I mean, just even doing the DNA comparison with Penny and coming up that we were 8th cousins, I thought was really cool. And
that's crazy. So you actually
your bloodline then.
Yeah, I've got 3 Merovingian lines. I think 2 of them are on my dad's side and one's on my mom's side. I'm actually a mutt because I have so many different bloodlines. But like I was telling you, Brian, I've got multiple Asian lines. I have multiple African and like Australian Aboriginal lines, Native American lines that can actually be verified, not just with the blood, but also on like my genealogical lines, just through the Mormon lines. They've done so much, because they like to pedigree us, I guess, like animals, but
yeah, it's quite disgusting. And
it is really disgusting.
It's not something, it's like, people get confused when we talk about this stuff. Like, we don't condone in any of these things or think that they lead to any sort of desirable results or anything like that. I mean, look at what it did to the royal family. They were like inbreeding. Like, it's all really gross. It's really
it's really gross. That's part of our genetic issues that we have. Being in the Royal Stuart line, we've got like the MTHFR mutated genes, and there's other stuff that just excuse me, when I was pregnant with my kids, I had multiple miscarriages. My middle son and my youngest son were actually a twin and a triplet. And I think that their siblings were taken from me. My first daughter was removed from me. I thought at first it was a miscarriage, but the more I've my oldest, who's transgender, she's me and her sister. It's been really fascinating just to see, my children's growth as they've grown up and matured. But they all have connections. I know that Ayla is writing several different books right now on her experiences through the secret space programs. And I encourage my children. I'm like, whatever you feel that you're connected to. And she says that she feels like when she came here, they changed her because she was supposed to come as a woman and they made her male, you know,
I've talked
cisgender.
about this
And
a
she,
lot. I've talked about this a lot
uh,
because we have a thing in our community where a lot of people do not understand this, and they think that if you let your child express that in any way, that's bad. There's even been talk about making it illegal to affirm your child's gender if they don't match their biological gender. So just throwing that out there, people, that is a big aspect of the programs is they do that to try to screw with their bliss, screw with their self appearance and stuff like that, and just take them away from themselves. But they can't do that. No matter what body you're born in, you can still be yourself. So I'm really glad that you brought up that issue. It's an important issue, and yeah,
right.
it's
Well,
just
and the thing that
confirmation of what I've been talking about a lot lately is the fact that
I,
it's a lot of it's connected to the programs.
and when, not if, but when, the med beds come out, whether it's through one of us who is recreating that, or we're able to get that technology that's already done, you can change your sex and it's very safe. It doesn't take very long. It could take around 24 hours, sometimes up to 2 weeks, depending on, what genetic mutations that you've had. So these people that are like, it's immoral. And no, the immorality part of it is fucking with people's heads. The
And also
abuse
also the
and
aspect that
gaslighting.
the there's stuff like that's going on that it's people are equating certain things, like for instance sometimes the Luciferians, they've got this new loophole where instead of sacrificing their first son, they'll say that they'll invert their gender and stuff like that, and that's 100% wrong. That's against the child's will. That's not the person's
100%.
decision. That's a totally different thing than what we're talking about. And there's also like the fact that Baphomet is androgynous. That people equate that to, well, then anything androgynous must be evil. Which, if you look at all of the ET out there, they're not all breeding in the same way as us. There are androgynous ones. There's all sorts of weird stuff going on out there, and if we can't accept that that's going on here, how are we supposed to accept that it's going on out there? So
Exactly.
it's an important issue, and if people are ever in this community are interested, if they feel left out, there's a Facebook group that Penny made. It's called Lokis Kids. I
Really
don't
cool
know.
page.
Yeah, and it's for people who are in the programs and who are also dealing with that kind of stuff and trying to figure things out. It's a safe space to talk about that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure if I ever brought that up on the show before, but Penny kind of created that because she understands too. She's a safe person to talk to about that kind of stuff. So yeah, I really appreciate you bringing up your daughter and that situation there. That's really fascinated because I have suspected that is the case with many different people, but that is the first time that I've gotten a direct confirmation of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's something that I have memories of working in the programs as a tech and basically a physician because I worked on these med beds. I worked in the regen tanks, the regen tam what do you call it? The chambers. There's different ones. The one that I talk about, the Genesis eggs, excuse me, or the Genesis tanks where they make the chimeras, they make the clones. And a lot of them, they start out with these little tiny babies, and some of them they do raise, others they don't. It just depends on what is this clone or this child going to become. How are they going to be used? Is it going to be used as an avatar? Is it going to be used to be able to properly grow up with its soul embodied persona. It just really depends on what they're doing, because there's so many programs out there. And so I'm really grateful that you've got your show where you talk about this stuff, because it is really important to point out to people, this technology, excuse me, I apologize. I've been getting over a cold. This technology is well over 2,500 years advanced. And, if people have a problem with that, get out of your religion, turn off the damn TV. I'm sorry, but the crap that's being put out there, and it includes the religion, is kept basically to keep you dumbed down.
Yeah, Audrey brought that up on literally the last show I did. She's really getting on her pedestal about that. I do think it is important. I've tried to be very respectful of people's beliefs and stuff like that, but facts are facts, and that religious programming, it can be very dangerous to the bottom line and the overall movement. And
that's violet cube technology, and that's one of the things that I see whenever I do session work on people. I can see the different levels of the cube tech. Red cube, excuse me, is the love bite. A lot of us, if not most of us, have that technology inserted so that we're being messed up. We've got those twinnings. A lot of people call it the trauma twinning, that because we've been paired up with people that we really are not compatible with.
yeah.
And we've gone through those very traumatic relationships in our lives and in multiple lifetimes. And until we can wake up to a level that we can get past that trauma and those karmic connections and work through those, we're going to keep those cycles. And so that's why I remove that technology from people, so that they can break free from that.
Well, I have to ask you then, Amaria, because during our session, I mentioned earlier that you found some of that technology implanted in my energetic field or signature. Can you speak to what did it look like, and then how was it affecting me, if at all? Because maybe I had it there, but maybe I wasn't cognizant. I mean, I'm pretty happy and all that, but you know what I mean. So, like, how does that implant try to then manifest and negatively affect my life in this case?
Well, you're a very, very high energy being. Like I was telling you, you're actually one of the great builders. And so come from an Orifim line. And so, as some people like to call them angelics, I don't like the religious side of things. So I just call people guardians. And so those guardian lines that basically.
If it makes you feel any better, just to interrupt you and then continue. And the word angel actually originally supposedly meant just messenger, and then it just over the years evolved into this thing. So similar to guardian, messenger, guardian, it's interchangeable. I just thought I would point that out. Yeah,
I like that. Thank you so much. And I understand a lot of people have the discomfort with that, and so I try to put things in terms, because I do work with a lot of people that are religious. I respect their right to have their religion. That's fine. And I take the tech off, because it offers them the opportunity to wake up from that programming, which none of us signed up for. Those people that want to say, we were preordained to come here, but bullshit. We have been prisoners here. We have been in karmic cycles that have locked us into
that's what I believe as well. I never I find it rude to interrupt your guests and tell them that you disagree with them, even if you do, unless it's absolutely necessary. I let people make up their own minds, but I want to come forward as team that I believe that too. There might be people like, Drago says he decided to come here and stuff. Maybe he did, man. Maybe he had this grand scheme and certain people did it. And hey, kudos to them. Kudos to you soldiers. Like, holy cow, what a plan. That's craziness.
And I think that was me. Right. I think a lot of us maybe at one time did, like 400,000 years ago, but not in this cycle. It was in another cycle if we came and decided to come down because we wanted to help. And I think that, Brian, you were one of those. I know that I was one of those at one time that did volunteer, but we got caught in these cycles and these traps. And so the black cube is part of that trap, is part of that Saturnian energy, which has been basically broken down. It's being dissolved if it hasn't completely been already. And so that was one of the texts that I took off of you, was the black cube. The red cube as well, which it's rooted with the root chakra. And a lot of times when I see that cube, technology on people. Their lower chakras, the yellow, the orange, the red, are burning really hot, and so they're bright colored. And so what I do is I do energy color frequency, which is actually talked about in the Monroe Institute's gateway process when I'm hemi-syncing. That's one of the things that we were trained in Montauk to do. And so I use those trainings, and I actually have things that I can basically verbalize for people that want to learn how to do that. You can take these programmings and actually learn how to do what we've done. It takes several months to several years to master. So just be patient with yourself. And I actually offer coaching to help people. I've got several clients right now that I am mentoring to help break through those barriers that they've been struggling with. But back to basically the cube that you had, I took the red cube off. I softened your lower chakras to more pastel colors, because we shouldn't be burning bright on our lower half, because we're basically beings that should be burning heavy on our top side. We need to be really able to reach out psychically, telekinetically. And if we're in those baser chakras, we're going to be connected more to the earth, which we want to be on one hand, but not to that extent. That kind of makes us more animalistic. And so we want to be more spiritual or vibrational, because really spirituality, what it is it's color vibration. It's vibrational frequencies that we can hear, we can feel, we can resonate with. That's why a lot of people say, you know, I really resonate with that, vibrate with that, because that's really truly what we're doing, is we're vibrating and resonating in those color frequencies. Excuse me. Your chakra, or excuse me, not chakra, your aura is crystal indigo, which is conducive to these higher beings, which I've seen. Not everybody that I work on has those chakra colors, which I was excited to see, because that's one of my main chakra colors.
And purple's a big color.
I don't know why I keep going back to chakra in my words, but the auric colors that basically you vibrate with, because you're such a high frequency being. The turquoise that I took off was actually connected to your throat chakra, and that turquoise cube, which basically dampens what you're able to do to speak. So when people are hearing you, sometimes they may be confused or disinterested because that technology puts a barrier. And so with the red cube, a lot of times what it'll do is it'll make people overly attracted or repelled because of that tech. And so they'll be like, yeah, I don't want to listen. But without that technology, it makes more of a natural, organic flow with your connection with people. And so taking those technologies off helps.
They're like artificial filter lenses that are not helpful. And that the other side puts in there to nerf us, drain off our energy, prevent us from accomplishing our mission, all of that.
Some people call it archon energy. That's fine. Tomato, tomato. Everybody can use whatever energy that they
it's
call it.
A very broad term that works for a lot of things, and I think it can kind of make it less confusing for people sometimes.
Correct.
Where can people get readings from you and stuff? Because we already got people who are interested.
Your readings are a bargain, Amaria. $55 an hour is suggested for an hour with a military SSP grade remote viewer with your experience and capabilities is wild.
I'm really trying to keep it to where it's doable for people, because I get it right now.
And I love that. I love that.
And so I do work 40 hours a week. Last week I pulled 48 hours as a security guard. And so, you know, I'm trying to do my half on the planet to at least take care of my family and my responsibilities. And I feel that the line of work that I do as a first responder, I feel really connected, because I do work with a lot of homeless people and a lot of people there's, you know, the part of town I work is really dangerous. I mean, there's a lot of darkness in Salt Lake City. And so I feel really connected to that work, because I want to be able to be that light in the darkness. I don't feel danger at all. When I literally walk around by myself. I got my pepper spray and I have my wings on. I shine. And so I have zero fear, because I'm a step ahead. And that's one of the things that any one of us could do with our psychic abilities, which are innate. But you can find me if you want to schedule an appointment. You can do that on heartmindexpressions@outlook.com. That's my email. You can email me there. And then if we're not like Facebook friends, I'm really selective with that right now because I have had a lot of infiltrators. And so I kind of watch when people start to put me on the, hey, will you be my friend list? I actually go on and I'm profiling you. And so I will go through and look at what are you posting? What are you talking about? Because if it's
Is
really
this
something
correct?
that, what's that? It's not gmail.com. It's at
Outlook.
outlook.com.
Okay.
Excuse me. And so I really am profiling because I'm trying to just narrow down, and I've been removing a lot of people from my site because I have actually had a lot of psychic attacks. I've had a lot of religious zealot attacks. I've had a lot of people that I think are 3-letter agencies attacking. And so I'm really careful who I add. I've been starting to do a few here and there that I'm feeling like, okay, this person's safe. That's okay. And, I've got children at home. I have had 3-letter agencies with CPS and the police come to my door and threaten to take my kids because of videos online. Not cool.
And you're
So,
not the first person who's given this testimony where there are women with children, families who have survived and are testifying about these secret space programs, and they're literally being threatened with CPS for talking crazy on social media, and it's a really insidious way of trying to shut the community up. And
that's
it's
really
by their
stupid.
agenda is to take our kids. So
It's
what do
really
you know?
stupid. Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I try to focus my energy towards what can I do to help the community? What can I do to be a positive influence? Excuse me. And so with the session work that I do, I use psionics. Just to explain a little bit about psionics. It's being able to manipulate the energy. And yes, I am manipulating you. It's in a positive way, and it's with your consent, and it's only with your consent, and it's with the guidance of your higher self, my higher self, your guides, and my guides. I always am holding hands with those beings. And you had some really cool beings that showed up. There were Lyrans that showed up, which really cool. They're very big guys. I mean, probably about 9 to 12 feet tall. They had some big cat faces, very golden energy. Their armor was just beautiful. Let's see, there was a bunch of ancient samurai that were your ancestors that showed up in their traditional regalia. It was absolutely touching and beautiful. I just, being able to witness what your ancestors were doing to honor you was amazing. Yeshua showed up, which I've seen a couple of times with some people, and he embraced you. And he wanted you to basically feel his healing energy as a master because you've been an ascended master. And at the time that you decided to come back before you were hijacked, to help humanity, you had already ascended at one time. Excuse me. There's a lot of us that have. I know that I've also been an ascended master at one time. There was, trying to remember some of the other guys that came. I'm in a trance state when I do this, and so I might not always remember every detail that goes on. You did have the squid technology, which it's a technology. I'm not exactly sure where it comes from, but I notice a lot of SSP people have it. There's another one that you didn't particularly have, but I've seen on other people that's almost like a silver segmented worm looking thing that people have, that it's got hooks on one end. Sometimes it looks like a snake head.
I had someone remove something like that. I won't mention their name, but they're in the community. They removed it was like a 3-headed squid thing. He said that was like really nasty. It was attached to the base of my neck. So maybe I might have had that and someone else already got to it before you got to find it on me, which is...
Now, you did have gray technology that I basically disconnected and deactivated.
Was that the check valve technology?
I think it was. That's the one that I basically went back to. I pulled the thread on them and basically told them if they don't fuck off, that the people that have been messing with you are going to be destroyed. Because that's one thing I do, is I do karmic magic. Mm-hmm. And so I'm very serious about canceling contracts. I also pull, like if somebody has a possession, I pull those. I always remind them of their free will and their right to self-determination, because we all have that. but they don't have a right to continue their war games. They have to cease and desist immediately. And then I pull any contracts, if there's any cursings, if there's any psychic attacks that have been going on, and it's removed past, present, and future from all timelines, and I bring it through the morphogenic field, which I did for you, and those are canceled. They're null and void. And then there's a Aqua Healing Mother arc, that portal that I use, that I basically send things to return to sender, and that shit can just go away, because what we're doing is we're focusing on you, the person that I'm working with. It's what is going to be for your highest and best, what's following your path, where you are at your level, because we're all at different levels excuse me, on our ascension. And all ascension is like what Yeshua talked about. You have to be born again. That doesn't mean that you're going to be entering your mom's womb again over and over and over. It does have part to do with reincarnation, but we don't have to reincarnate to ascend.
Mm-hmm.
We can do that. It's basically getting a change within yourself. And so when you learn a lesson and you're like, oh shit, I really screwed up, I am so sorry, you just leveled up and you just ascended another notch. That's what ascension is. And so people want to make this a religious thing. It's not a religious thing. It's a vibrational thing. If you want to call it spiritual, that's fine. Tomato, tomato, yet again. It's a vibrational thing. And so with ascension, we're ascending or we're vibrating at different frequencies, and it's a stair step. And so as we continue to grow and we break through these bad habits that we have, or sin, which all sin is, if you've ever done archery and you're aiming and you're taking that arrow and you miss the target or you miss the bullseye, that's all that is it's a sin. And so you aim again and you take and you fire again. That's all that is. And so repentance is just taking aim, adjusting, and not doing those things again that are causing karma.
Refining your practice.
Exactly.
And what you're talking about is that's really the prime tenets of advocacy, is you're representing someone as if that was yourself, with their best interests, your grandma, and you want the best for them. And that is very powerful.
Because I care very deeply for people. I know what it feels like to be where you're at, to be wondering, what the hell am I doing? I've actually attempted to remove my life twice on this planet, and I succeeded the first time. I was actually basically put back in my body saying, no, you're not coming back. It's not time. You're going to be here a long time. Get your ass back to your body and get your job done. I'm like, what? So,
well, we're grateful you're still with us, for sure. 100%.
Thank you. So I can definitely say I get it. I understand being at rock bottom. I've lost everything several times. I've been homeless. I know what that feels like.
Same.
I've lost my kids. I know what that feels like. I've lost my home. I've lost everything. But you know what? That made me strong. That made me go, ooh, I don't like this. I'm not going to be a victim. And so what we got to do is, each time that we have a trial or something that knocks us over, when we can dust ourselves off and say, fuck you, I'm going to try again and I'm going to show you. That's when we take our power back. That's when we learn that we are truly stronger than we thought we were before. And we really are. We really are such strong beings that even Yeshua talked about it. And if you actually look at like the emerald tablets, there's a couple different versions. There's Thoth, and then I'm trying to remember Hermes. They actually talk about that. And that's where the Bible was actually compiled from, was partially from the emerald tablets and some other documents, which you can find with Billy Carson. He's got a lot of amazing teachings. If anybody's ever interested in hearing his stuff, phenomenal on forbidden knowledge. I absolutely suggest going and listening to his stuff, because it helps give a different perspective excuse me, on what kind of beings that we are energetically. And so when we look at who we are as energetic beings, and that if we fall over, it's okay, just pick yourself back up, re-aim, you're going to keep ascending and you're going to be able to keep going. I believe in you, and your higher self believes in you. And so this is why I do the work that I do. Another thing I practice, which I talk with people, and I've had a few people want to butt heads with me on this. So hear me out, those of you that love tropical astrology. It's 20 to 24 degrees off. So you're actually not getting a proper reading on yourself.
So is this where you go to sidereal instead
This
of
is where you go to
tropical?
sidereal astrology. It's actually based on where the cycle of the planets are. So it flows with our planet, it flows with positions of the planets, the stars. And so you're getting an actual reading of where you are. So July 11th, that's my birthday. I'm a Gemini. 1976, Fire Dragon, that's my Chinese zodiac. And so I'm not a Cancer. There is no way if I were falling tropical, I'm not a Cancer. I do have Cancer placements, but what you want to do is you want to look at your whole chart, because some people might say, well, I'm a Gemini, so this, no. Don't put yourself in a box. Gemini is going to be where your Christos stands, because when we're born, like with my Gemini, every 28 days, I'm going to cycle around with the moon. That's when the Christos is going to happen. That's the cerebral spinal fluid. And I have on my Facebook page, that's my the tagged post that I have tagged up. You can watch that and you can actually see on the lunar chart, once you put in what your sidereal sign is, and you can show, because I've got links of everything that you can look up for yourself. Your sidereal sun is going to connect you to your moon. That is when your body, excuse me, is going to put out that cerebral spinal fluid. And in a nutshell, it's going to basically go up your spine to Golgotha, the base of your skull. Bethlehem is where it's created, around the solar plexus. And it's going to set for about 2.5 days for resurrection. Now, a lot of these terms were used and adulterated in the Bible by Constantine, who is a very evil man, and by the Council of Nicaea and King James. All of them were very evil cabal and deep state. And I'm going to stand by that firmly. Billy Carson
King James was a
explained it.
33rd degree Freemason.
Yep. And
I've
so
also talked a little bit about just moving back to the Montauk aspect. I remember, because obviously that was a satanic Luciferian thing.
100%.
And the Son of Sam missions were all about taking out this church called the Church of the Sacred Heart, and they were like, I guess you could call true followers of Yeshua, because one of the kind of funny things that they did is one of the guys that they're famous, the New York press or would interview them, and then eventually they became like globally famous, these guys. And another timeline, obviously, because they're deleted from this timeline. And one of the guys, the joke was always how he looked like Jesus, like this white guy, like long hair and stuff. And he got so upset over it. He's like, I don't look like Jesus. That's like the Council of Nicaea, da 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 da. And they put up this whole documentary about it. And of course, the powers that be, this ancient bloodline group, they did not like that. So they literally had to alter the timeline to make it so that church didn't occur and that they didn't do all that stuff. And it's a shame, because it's not only was it like good for the world, it was just a great time to be alive, and it was entertaining. Like they did that documentary because they actually found like the technical like apparent grave of Jesus or something. I can't remember. Like they got scientific and they found facts. They found facts and stuff, and the whole world was watching. It was like one of the most watched things on TV like ever. So like it was just like a fascinating thing. And I think it happened it would have happened in the 80s, but they had to make it so it never happened. So that's what happened. And yeah, it was one of the first things that Aquino did after he took over. It was one of the first things he carried out after he became head of.
I get a good giggle about it. The white Jesus gives me a giggle. When I met Yeshua, he's a black man. He has turquoise eyes, beautiful soul, amazing, gorgeous soul, and very loving. But when you look back at the Merovingian line, those Merovingian kings are not white. They're from the Middle East. They have dark skin. And so the cabal definitely wanted to adulterate. I mean, they want this perfect Aryan soldier. I think that's why they take the different bloodlines that they have, and we'll get a little piece here and there from those indigenous lines. I'm 83% Viking, which goes back to a lot of Russian, Bavarian lines, Polish. It does go into the royal lines. The queen is one of my cousins. Each one of the presidents that we've had is one of my cousins. The Mormon prophet, Brigham Young and Joseph Smith are my uncles. They're pedophiles. And anybody that might be listening that might be choosing the LDS faith, that's fine. A lot of the people in the LDS faith are wonderful people. But you've got to understand there's an inner circle and there's an outer circle. The outer circle.
Have you spoke with Dan Armstrong at all?
I don't think I have.
He's
I did
Mormon SSP.
Yeah. There's an SSP program that's Mormon apparently, and I did a whole show with them. You should watch it, and maybe we could have another show about it where you both could come on, because he brought up probably a lot of the stuff that you're about to bring up. You feel free to say it.
Right.
We can go into it though again because it's important, and I just want to see how much it lines up with what he said. Because here you guys don't even know each other and talking about some of the same stuff, and yeah, it's kind of a out in the open secret with the Mormon faith, and he said exactly the same thing as you. There's all this corruption, there's all this messed up stuff, but at the same time, some of the best people, like the most pure people,
there's so many pure souls that are, and there's also a fine line where there's a lot of people that are very connected to the earth, as far as not in a good way. Like they're very worldly, they're very wealthy, all they care about is what they look like. You can tell. I mean, they've got the best clothes, the best cars, they've got mansions. A lot of Mormons are very, very wealthy people. And it's sad when I see that, because it's almost like they're just NPCs.
Well, they think that here's the thing: is that's a Calvinist thing that comes from wealth being favoritism by God, and that's a part of the religion, and that's a whole part of why people are so obsessed and fascinated with capitalism, and people think it's such a great thing, is because your wealth is just like, it's like the new caste system of the West. Like, oh, well, how much money you have, it's all based on your decisions, and there's all this stuff that we do as a society to gaslight people into the problems that we have under the current system we're living in, where it's just like, oh, it's poor people's fault, and people who are being taken advantage of by the system's fault. And the same thing could be applied to like the Mormon faith and a lot of different things. Like, they don't want you to talk about the system itself being corrupt. They want there to be some other blame, and that's why, like with the Mormon faith, like a lot of times when there's abuse and people try to come forward, they shun it and cover it up in the name of, well, if you think that this is what's going on, then that makes us all look bad, and by collective, it makes the whole thing look bad. And it's just,
there's a lot of shaming that goes along, which actually I've gone through. I've had to make some very strict boundaries with my dad, who's actually a bishop. Once they become a bishop, they stay for the rest of their life. He's also a high priest. But I challenge anybody out there that is Mormon, LDS, to look at the Freedom of Information Act pages that were actually put together from the vaults here in Salt Lake. I live in Salt Lake City, but up Little Cottonwood Canyon is where the dumb is, and it's shared with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints vaults. And all of the information that's been saved from church history is there. And this man got all of that. And the Book of Mormon is actually it's plagiarized from several children's books. And there's some other different things that were inserted. There's some, the different pages towards the end of the Doctrine and Covenants and the Pearl of Great Price, some other books the Mormons have that came from hieroglyphs, but they're actually death rolls. They're death records. And so they're not what they're saying that they are in the books. So it's called cesletter.com. And I challenge you to read that. It's a very, very well thought out, well-written document. And it shows every bit of information that's come through the Freedom of Information Act. And the man that did it, I'm not recalling his name right now off the top of my head, he actually sent it to the first presidency here. And they have yet to answer it, because it's basically outing the church. It's outing the Satanism, the Luciferianism that's connected to not only the church, but to the Catholic Church, to the Bible that was done, the King James Bible, which the Mormons based themselves off of, which was cabal made. It is all done through Satanism. And whenever you do, like I say, go back to Billy Carson's teachings. This man is a genius. He's reading thousands of documents and has read thousands of documents that are from ancient Egypt, Sumeria. He's read the Dead Sea
Shout out to
Scrolls.
Billy Carson.
Oh, he's amazing. I love Billy so much. Oh my God, I would love to meet him. I
He was
really
actually
love
on
him.
Penny's show. Penny interviewed him.
I did. I saw that today because I noticed that. I was like, dude, I'm seeing that show today. So I was really excited about that. So, I mean, religion aside, vibration is what we really want to focus on. So if you want to do a church, and that's what you need community, by all means, go to that community. But remember, look inside of yourself. Don't look at other people, like I have to go to the bishop and confess my sins. Dude, you can do that within. We are a particle of God. God is within us. We are God. And so when we look within and are assessing, what did I really do? I'm atoning for my sins every time I do that. And so that's how I'm ascending each time, is doing that shadow work. One of the things I use is neurolinguistics programming. And I also use the Hoffman process, which there's books that you can find that are based on those. The Hoffman process is a great program that you can use that helps you to get back into your child self and to deal with the people that hurt you. So a lot of times we get angry about what people did with us, but when you take
Yeah,
the
I've been
Hoffman
kind of.
approach,
That's
you take the
so important.
you take that Hoffman approach, and what you do is, like, for instance, the pain that I had with my father. I went back and I made myself, in my mind, a little 5-year-old child, and also made him that 5-year-old child. Because what are children but perfect? They're beautiful. If you ever see children playing, those little kids, they're just always, I want to give you a hug, and hey, do you want to play
Yeah, it
with my
makes me
toy?
very upset what this world has done to children.
They're so loving and so pure. They want to share everything. And that's a child that hasn't been hurt, that hasn't been abused, that hasn't been destroyed. And you see that pure innocence. That's why Yeshua said, be as a little child. So the Hoffman process takes that idea of becoming a little child within, visualizing that, and asking that person, what happened to you? What was done that made you do the things that you did to me? And so you're stepping outside and actually walking in that person's shoes for just a moment. And your consciousness is going to tell you through those little children that you're visualizing. And you're going to get a story, and you're going to feel compassion and love for that person. And that's when you can actually feel forgiveness. Now, you don't have to go and trust that person again. I'm not saying go take a person that's been abusive or a psychopath and just give them the reins. That's stupidity. But what you're doing is you're letting go of the poison that you're taking by being pissed off, because every time you take that energy of anger, it hurts yourself. So you got to learn to let go of the anger, let go of being a victim, and being able to say, it really sucks what happened to you. It's not okay what you did to me, and I don't like that, but I don't have to be angry at you anymore, because now I can see what you went through. That's fucked up. And I know I'm not perfect, because in the programs I was in, I know I was a bitch. I was a fucked up bitch. And I have had people that have approached me that have said, I remember what you did to me. And I truly feel bad for that. That is not who I am. And that is not who I choose to be.
We were
So,
talking about this earlier too, the Archeem, in an altered state, in the training that they put everyone through. It's, I mean, that kind of brings us to a question here, Amarias. Do you have recall of how you first got into the programs?
as a 3-year-old, my dad was in the Army. My grandpa was in the Navy. He's the original contact that they had, that accepted the contracts to be a part of the programs in World War II, because of our bloodlines. And I was in some programs because I was considered to be autistic. And so I was put in the LD programs in school. And so before school, of course, I was taken out. It was usually just during a what do you call it, daycare. We were given, this is where I'm trying to remember if it was you, Arkeem, that had talked about it, but we had these little ice cream cups that they would give us with little pills. And they would say, okay, it's nap time, guys. And so they would lay out mats for all of us, and they would give us these pills and this ice cream treat. And from there, they would take us. Once I got into school, we would have opening exercises. I lived in Texas, and so we still did the Pledge of Allegiance, and we read like the 23rd Psalm and different things. They still had some church and state that were mixed together. And so religion was allowed to be practiced in school, which I'm not cool with that. Whatever, to each his or her own. If you want to pray, fine. I've prayed in groups, and I will put my arm around you if you want to pray, and and I support that. But I don't want people to be pushed to have to be, well, you have to read the psalm and whatever. I think that that's wrong. But if you want to do it, I support you, and I will pray with you. But anyway, they would take us to our LD class, and we'd do some flashcards. I guess it was for to make it people think that we're being educated. I was almost illiterate up to my senior year of high school because I was not learning. And I was told, people were basically telling my parents, she's just special needs. She's just not very smart. I'm sorry, but I'm a genius. And I'm not saying this to be arrogant. There's things that I can see and do mechanically as an engineer and as a scientist that even the Army, the Air Force, when I was in high school, they were like tagging me going, hey, we want you to be a doctor. We want you to come and be a medic, this and that. I wanted to be a pilot. I was like, fuck you guys. And so that's when the old man, which I can get to later, came. But anyway, we would be taken from LD class on either the short bus or a white van. And then they would take us to, when I was in Fort Sam Houston or around San Antonio, excuse me, it was John Glenn Elementary School. And there was a mall that had a train station under it. And we would go to that. And it was those high-speed trains that would come. And they would line us up in age groups according to which age group we were. And that's where Michael Koff and I knew each other. He's also from Texas. And he was in one of those groups, and we were paired up a few times just because we energetically get along really well. So it wasn't always by age once we were paired up, but it was by energetic ability we were paired up. And so sometimes I would be paired up with kids that were much older than me, sometimes with younger kids. It just depended on how we were able to interface, if we were interfacing with different entities. When I got about to the 5th grade, I started rebelling. Because when we moved to Fort Leavenworth, excuse me, I went to Tonganoxie school there. They put the Xenier cards in front of me and took me to LD. And that's the first thing they set in front of me. Yep. And I was mad. I was like, I'm not playing this game anymore. I don't want to play this game anymore. Because when we would do that game in Texas, they had a little sawed-off yardstick that they would use. And if we got anything wrong, they would hit our hands hard. Sometimes it would make our knuckles bleed. So I didn't want to get them wrong. And so, yeah, they were working on our psychic abilities, but they're doing it with abuse. So by the time I was in 5th grade, I was like, fuck
That's
you
how it
guys.
works. So that's how it works. So it's you're bringing up all the stuff about the inner child and all those things, and I think it's really important. I've actually been kind of having that come out lately. Like, I just realized it. It's like I've been watching movies that I grew up with, like ones that I have VHS and stuff like that, and I've been realizing my inner child's kind of coming out, and I think that I actually really do need to make that connection with my inner child and maybe do something similar, like what you're talking about with that. That does seem like a really
And if
valid.
you're ever interested, I am NLP certified. I've been doing it since 2013. And so what I could do is I follow spirit just depending on what you need or intuition. And so some people I do a timeline or lifeline with. And so I'll take you back to different points that come to you. Usually it's about 3 of them. And then once we're on that timeline and we get to that point of where you were hurt, then we do the same thing like with the Hoffman process. We step off the timeline, and then I have you address that person or those persons that hurt you. We figure out what they did.
I'm very interested in that. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to help people with that.
Well, one of the things I wanted to bring up that was just kind of interesting is last night I watched the movie, one of the movies that I grew up with that I really liked, and it makes a lot of sense now watching it. Why? Was the movie Matilda, because it was about this psychic little girl who could have powers and things like that. And what the movie shows very implicitly, without being coy about it whatsoever, is the fact that in order for her abilities to come out, they have to be activated by abuse and trauma. So when you're talking about them using abuse to activate your abilities with the Zener cards, that's par for the course, and that is how they do the things. The chocolate cake scene, classic. Yeah, oh my gosh, it's such a great movie.
I gotta watch that movie again. It's been a long time.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And it really, if you watch it tonight, if you have time to or whatever, it will actually be perfect because it goes along with the conversation. It's that children are actually very pure,
yes,
wonderful creatures that are like, they get corrupted by the adults around them a lot of the times, and it's unfortunate. And I think the one thing they left out in that movie is Trunchbull or whatever. She would have been a Satanist, and she would have been like probably abusing the kids like in rituals and stuff. But of course, they left that out. But it felt very real to me. You know what I mean? The whole thing.
Right.
And it just, if you're a Montauk kid, I don't know, it probably hits closer to home than it does for most people, because we all went through similar things. I also remember books being a solace, not as much in my surface life, but also in the programs at Montauk. Like, books were like contraband. I don't know if you remember that at all. Like, they're like, you weren't supposed to have them, but they're contraband, and they could be an escape. And if you had a book, you might read it over and over again. So, yeah, I don't know. Just there's a lot of things that really hit home.
It makes sense. I know that they wanted to keep us dumbed down as much as we could on things like that. And just, it's like with me, they were just working on what psychic abilities that they could pull out. So I am very adept with meditation. The hemisync is something that I can do very quickly. And that's what I actually use whenever, Brian had experienced it when I was doing with the psionic hemisyncing. I biolocate to you. And so I'm actually stepping into your body, into your energy field, because there's times when I have to like reach in and grab shit out, and I'll do it. There's times when I see things and I go back to a cord, and I'm very firm, as you saw.
What was the nastiest thing you would say you saw on me of the different technologies? Because what people in our community or listening to this should know is that you can have implants from multiple different groups. Maybe one or two might be friendly groups trying to just monitor you and keep a close eye on you for safety's sake. And then you've got these negative implants draining off energy, trying to put in bad energy
you can have them from multi-lifetimes as well. That's why a lot of times you've heard anybody that's been in religion where a lot of times they'll talk about it's generational and it'll go 4 generations. That's pretty literal, because we could be connected to something that happened to our grandparent, which could actually have been one of our children at one time, or maybe they were a cousin, or maybe, we were married to that person. It's really strange how karma goes and how reincarnation goes. And so breaking those cycles and also taking those attachments, those entities, those curses, whatever they may be, is so essential in helping a person to be able to lighten up their energy so that they can get out. That's why we're being dumbed down the way that we have been, because the powers that were, and I'm going to say were because they're not, they didn't want us to figure out how to get out of the matrix. Once you can get rid of all that shit, getting out of the matrix is a piece of cake. Because I think with my near-death experiences and my after-death experiences, the reason remembering hemisync was so easy is because when you die, you go to the astral. It's the same place that we go when we die. So basically, you're learning
Yep.
to traverse that area. So death is not a scary place.
Because,
And I call
is that the lower fourth or the fourth dimensional astral that we then
the
would
fourth dimension.
either cross through to keep going, or we get bounced back through the soul traps, which are now apparently being dismantled?
Yes, a lot of those have been destroyed completely. I don't think that there are, except for the traps that we make for ourselves at this point. And so that's why we're working on getting rid of the cube technology, any of the alien tech that's been put on us, any of the cabal tech that's been put on us. That's my biggest aim, is what can we do to get rid of that technology? And if you need further, counsel, guidance, coaching, then that's where I take it further and say, let's do another consult. Let's do something, inner child. Some people are very self guided, and they would, I prefer to read a book. Okay, great. I've got several books that I can get you. And, we'll talk about it. One of the books is by Dr. Dennis Cummins, Turning Terrible to Terrific. It's about that thick. It's not a very thick book. It took me 18 months to read, though, because when you do these books, I want you to do every exercise. So that means you're going to need to get a workbook, which, if you get a lined book to write in and write down your thoughts, because it's going to have exercises for you to do. You're going to want to do your gratitudes, and it's going to show you step by step how to do those. And it's 100 gratitudes. That's hard to do. It took me 2 weeks to get all that written out. This is why it took me so long to read that book. There's also the Hoffman Process, which is a little thicker book. Now, that book is going to go through a lot deeper stuff. And so if you're more adept at understanding psychology and different things like that, go for it. That's a great book to do. Any of the NLP books, like Richard Bandler or trying to think, Milton Erickson is another one. He did a lot of hypnosis stuff. What is his name? Anyway, NLP, if you do a search on neuro-linguistics programming, you're going to get a lot of really good books. And so, any of those books is something I would suggest, but you're going to want to do research. If you don't want to have to go through all the research, this is where somebody like me is a great selection. I've read these books. I've gone through the trainings. My ex-husband was actually my trainer. He was a PhD psychologist and a PhD NLP practitioner. And he's the one that certified me in 2013. And so using these aspects and these tools is all they are, is what helps us so that we can reframe what we've gone through. We can't change what happened to us in the past, but we can. That's the power of NLP and the power of positive thinking. The power of intention is so strong when we could go and rewrite that for ourselves. And that's what we do when we're using NLP, and we're using the Hoffman process and doing these inner child processes.
And it seems there's actually a time travel quantum entanglement component, because Sean Bond talks about this, where you can send reinforcing and loving energy back in time to traumatic events and help heal to a certain extent, resolve to a certain
100%.
extent, and then bring that back here, and it has
it's what we would refer to as a self-fulfilling prophecy, because
and Sean's an
you have
amazing
experienced that in that moment already, which is the weird thing about it.
Absolutely. I can see on here about a specific hemi-sync tracks. There's actually quite a few. If you go to the Monroe Institute, they've got them online there. They also have tracks on YouTube that you can look up.
The Gateway
just
Process.
type in Gateway Process, hemi-sync. They do have those publicly listed. The Monroe Institute, again, you can buy the actual program. It's about $700 if you get it from Monroe. If you get it used on eBay, you can find it for about between $150 to $300. I do have
get it free on
copy.
YouTube, or are you talking about physical? It's like a book.
There is a free set of audios that you can listen to on YouTube that are public, and so you can do those. I did get a physical copy because if the internet ever goes down, I just like to have physical things. CDs to me are important. Some people think, let's put everything on the cloud. That's kind of skirting with danger. I like to have physical copies of things. So physical books I keep, physical everything. So, it's up to you. What feels best to you. If
Now,
you want to,
I, I wanted to ask, because we left off in when you literally dropped on us that there's a deep underground military base under Salt Lake City.
yes.
I just didn't want to let that pass.
I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, if you look at the mountains up here, I know that I'm trying to remember who was talking about it. But the tunnels go so deep into the mountain, it goes into the hollow earth where you've got the honeycomb earth. There is actual areas where people don't come back.
There's tunnel systems all
Yeah,
over, and there's some under there, huh?
And right now, if you come and visit Salt Lake, they actually have the tunnels ripped up in town because they've been working on the temple ever since the earthquake that happened. I think it was 2014 when it knocked the Morona out the temple.
What does it look like when working on the tunnels? I'm kind of curious.
I mean, they've been like they're really fancy where the church has it because where the prophet goes to and fro, they've got like different Secret Service agencies that protect that, and so we can't go into there. Like even as a security guard, if I take a wrong turn and go down the wrong tunnel, because I'm always patrolling the different underground garages and things. There has been a couple times I've made a wrong turn and they're like, hey, who do you work for? And I'm like, I apologize. And I'll tell them, like, can we see your ID? And so I follow the protocol. I apologize. I made a wrong turn. And they'll say, yep, go ahead and come out. Because they're on you like flies on poop. There's a couple of air vents. One of them's on Main Street and 200. Is it 200 South? I think, no, it's South Temple. So Main Street and South Temple, and it's right next to the bank. I'm not sure if it's Zions Bank or which bank it is, but basically if you're downtown and you actually go there, there's these big vents and you can look down into it. And that does show part of the tunnels there. A lot of them are just concrete. And then as you get up into the mountain, it's the ones that there's a lot of the ancient tunnels that were bored. There's a lot of the ones that they've done just like with the high-speed trains. There's huge lakes that are back under there that are with the vaults. And Lake Bonneville is actually underneath us. And so if we do ever have a big enough earthquake that knocks Salt Lake, which I'm actually expecting, I'm looking at some housing right now because I'm going to be moving up into the mountain a little bit further. I've been having a lot of psychic impressions that we're going to have a very heavy earthquake. When that happens, unfortunately, Salt Lake is probably going to sink and Lake Bonneville is going to happen again. And if it does, it could flood all the way up to Idaho, over to Nevada, and down to South Utah. And so I'm hoping that doesn't happen. And if it does flood, it could just be the general area. But I've had some pretty stout dreams where I was standing at the Delta Center, which is where the Utah Jazz play. And I was looking up into about 400 feet of water above me. And I could see cars that had been crashed and tangled, like there had been a really bad flood that had happened. And so that's a possibility that could happen here in Salt Lake if we have a 7-point magnitude or higher earthquake. Because if you look at the edge where the Wasatch Ranges go, there's multiple, there's multiple fault lines where the road goes all of a sudden. And it's basically like a thumbnail. It's barely holding on. And we're over billions of tons of water. People think, oh, the Salt Lake is going away. We have so much water underneath us. This climate thing that's been going on is total bullshit. Just go look at the records that the Geological Society has and how much water we're sitting on. We're sitting on a tectonic plate, and if it sinks, Salt Lake is fucked. It's sad, and it sucks because we have so many people moving into our city right now with all of these high-rise apartments going up. Like, I don't want to be in one of those tin cans when this place blows. It's sad.
Now, what do you think would happen to the Dome in this situation that there's a massive flooding and after an earthquake?
It's a really good question. I think it's a possibility it could flood. With the lakes there, the water could come out anyway, just because of, the fault lines and everything. And so, I mean, there's a lot of different things that could happen because, like, if we have a pole flip that's sudden, that could also cause that as well. Because just like in the last pole flips, when the water would come up quickly out of the ground from the tectonic plates slamming together, that's another possibility. I actually hope it goes slower and that, because I know the pole's shifting anyway, it's going to happen.
It's
And
happening.
so it would be nice if it was a nice gradual thing, a few earthquakes here and there. And so, but that's another story. That's another thing. So,
And
yeah.
then so you were taken into that dome under Salt Lake City when you were in grade school?
That particular one, I think I was a few times just because my grandparents, we would go out every summer to Elmo, Utah, which is south of here. It's close to Price and across the Wasatch Range. And I remember going into tunnels in the road, which I think was probably along I-70 towards Colorado. There was other domes that we were taken to in Fort Sam Houston that were in Texas. There were also tunnels up in Leavenworth, Kansas, and down in Carthage, Missouri, that my sister and I remember that we were taken into when we were with our church youth groups. And there was actual satanic ritual abuse going on, which I really don't want to get into. It's
No,
very,
no, no.
very
Well,
painful.
then, do you remember can you speak to any, if you have any recall from any, my favorite is the time travel stuff. Arkeem knows this, and the
Yeah,
and the stuff in space, because one of my dreams is to have a craft someday to fly around in. So do you have any of those types of recalls?
I do have some of them. There's different ones that I was working with the Mantis people. I know that Saturn Space Station was one of those. There was a planetoid, I believe, that was close to, because I remember seeing the sun, Saturn. There was Neptune, Uranus that we could see clearly. You
Were you
could
on
see the
Titan,
space
maybe?
station.
Were you on the moon of Saturn? Were you on Titan?
I'm wondering if that might be where it was, because I think we could also see either the moon Io or it was Nibiru, but it had a chunk out of it. It was bizarre because it was like you could see the planet, but then there was this huge cut, like some half of it was like blown off of it. So that's where I was trying to figure out, was this Io, the volcanic moon, or was this Nibiru, which is pretty similar looking
I
because
think
it's
I,
kind of,
Io, I think is a moon of Jupiter. It might be more.
is
It
it?
has water. It's supposed to have water on it, I believe. That's
Oh,
why.
okay.
That's why it's
Okay.
written about in the 2001 Space Odyssey. I believe that's
Interesting.
the significance of Io. And there's also Europa. I forget what planet that moon's orbiting.
Oh, right. I have heard of Europa. So I mean, it could be Nibiru because I know that they've been here for a while, but
Hmm.
they can actually fly that planet. It's been motorized somehow, just like the moon can be flown, and so they can park it wherever they want to.
Like the Death
It's,
Star. Like it's a
yeah, just like
giant
a Death
flying
Star.
mothership.
Exactly, exactly. And so I think that we've been observed for a very long time. There are benevolent Anunnaki that want us to succeed, that want us to become better than them. Just like Enki, he made us that way. He inserted those little genetic things, those codes into us, that when we can activate that 12-strand DNA, holy crap, we're gonna be like superheroes. And that's
Well,
everybody.
and
That's
what do you
everybody.
so do you have what do you project or foresee as kind of the timeline for the type of awakening and activation of where more people are able to do remote viewing like it's an everyday thing, or astral project while in their sleep or going into meditation? um, do you have any thoughts on that?
Kind of like the 100th monkey effect. The more people that we can wake up in a positive way, that's when we're going to start seeing that kind of higher ascension type thing that a lot of people are looking at. I don't like to make like the prophetic profession or things because there's a lot of V2K around us that so I don't do a lot of those. People like, hey, can you
Sure.
do a reading? Can you do? Yeah, I can. but I don't like listening to the CIA.
Right.
And so a lot of people that are coming up with a lot of these predictions, I'm just like, I want to stay away from that. I would like us to just be more organic. Like, what can we do for ourselves to be able to heal from our traumas, to be able to ascend to each of these higher stages, and then bring our friends along? What can we do to help encourage our friends and our family to do the same? Because as we continue to do that, that's when we're going to manifest this higher like civilization of, that 5D that people are looking for. Like, oh, we want to have this, moo again, or whatever they want to call it. We can have that, but it starts with us. And so we got to get out of this fear porn thing of, well, this is happening in the news. Yeah, it might be.
It's disempowering. The mainstream news is so disempowering.
So much shit out there.
One thing I'll point out that's just real simple about that too is like, okay, every day some sort of crazy event happens on the planet. Yeah, well, there's also billions of people and the planet's really big, and it's probably kind of always been that way. Not to say that there isn't a lot of stuff that we need to address right now, and we got to care about the world and stuff, but also at the same time, it's just food for thought. Like, nobody ever had to have as much information at their fingertips as we do now. And sometimes that's really all it is because we have so much information now, it makes it seem like things are so much worse than they really are sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what are you digesting every day? What are you bringing into your energy field is going to make a difference. And it sucks for those that have been affected by these hurricanes. My heart goes out to them very much. What we can do, because of these HARP machines that are very real, and the chemtrails and things that are flying. When you see a chemtrail in the sky, just say, hey, you know what? I can control that. You need to become harmless water vapor and so mode at that. So mode it be. So be it. Whatever it is, in the name of Jesus Christ, if you have to use that because that's where your power is coming from, I hope you can wean yourself off of that someday. But if that's what gives you your absolute faith, that's how that works, is intention with that pure faith. When you can believe and you can look at that chemtrail and say, fuck you, you're just harmless water vapor, those heart machines are going to fail every time. And when we see, the news saying, well, we're going to have this catastrophic thing, we can all get together as friends and say, let's meditate on this. And
a lot of people think that happened with, Milton? Yeah,
yep.
So
it absolutely did. I think it absolutely did, because I was one of those putting that energy out there saying, fuck that thing. That's not going to happen. Those people are not going to be harmed.
Now, were you able to detect energies in entities in those storms that were trying to wreak havoc? Like, were you getting, can you tell us?
There's an aspect of black magic with that, just like this cold that I have that's been going around. There was an entity attached to that. And so as much as I can, I'm trying to remove those things. We all can do that. And so anybody, if you're watching the news and the weather, you're like, oh crap, this is going to happen. Well, they're saying that we might have tornadoes. No, I don't want that. So let's have the rain. We need rain. That's cool. We need the snow. That's cool. Let's put the snowpack in the mountains. Let's do it tactfully and safely. And so when we put that energy out there, hey, Mama Gaia, I love you. Hey, our sky, I love you. There are things called wind sylphs.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk. A lot of
you've seen them, right?
I've seen them.
You got a lot of the earth and all the things around us know that we love them. Like, we love the earth, know that we love the earth. We gotta we have to be grateful for existence again. And let me be real, I really do think that the internet and our interaction with the internet and how we've let it kind of take over our lives, like, I think it can be used as a healthy tool. Don't get me wrong, but the way that everybody's got what do the dogs call them, Brian?
Devil windows.
The dogs.
Yeah.
The dogs. Jaden says the dogs call them devil windows.
Yeah, they don't want to look at the phone.
They don't like the phones because they're the devil windows, and I kind of do think there's like an aspect to that.
The blue light is really dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that we just kind of need to ground ourselves in reality again, like hang out with each other again. Like for instance, like I hope this doesn't seem like I'm getting off track, but I don't think I am. Like right now, there's a what they're calling an epidemic of loneliness with young people, especially, um, where they're not. When we were kids, I'm sure you all can. I might be the youngest one in this group, but I was there for it too. Where we hung out in real life, we might ride our bikes all day, and then hey, we got to come back when the street lights come on, right? And stuff like that. And we hung out in person. You knew where everyone was because their bikes were outside, stuff like that. Now
Exactly.
the kids are all. I don't mean to sound like a luddite or an old person, but they're all playing video games now. They're all hanging out online, and that social time that they need is happening in the form of like scrolling, talking to people they may not even know, and what they're finding out is it has all these detrimental effects on society, and this is what's kind of ruining things. And I think that like even older people really because we're all using these apps and stuff like that. We need to remember that the real world is not the same as the internet. Like the internet is this crazy, cool, awesome, useful tool, and we're literally using it right now, and it's great. But we need to remember like the real world is what's important, and this could just turn off just at a moment's notice. It's like you're saying, I have physical things
Well,
because
Amari, what does it look like? Like what Arky was talking about, that spiritual kind of possession or interaction. Are you able to see what that energy looks like when someone is just like so into phone land that they're literally kind of possessed in an archonic fashion or whatever? What does that look like to you from a Paris
If
sensitive
you've
look?
ever seen Harry Potter and those soul suckers, it's almost like you see this draw. It's an energy draw. And they're kind of dark, like they're cloaked. They don't usually have a face. They're soulless. And so that's why they're sucking and they're feeding off of our energy, because we have that light that, they're hungry. They want that. And like when we're out in hyperspace, those of us that have been pilots and navigators, we have to be aware of what's around our ships, because those things will attach to you because they want that. They're hungry. They can't make that on their own like we can.
Because you're saying, yeah, there are beings out there in deep space, and it's like if you're going through certain zones, you have to be careful of things attaching to the ship, because
Like an
otherwise there's
ocean, just
like
like an ocean.
barnacles, right?
Mhm.
Can you speak to some? Do you have any recall of any of the nasties that are out there?
Um, Usually it was like a feeling or a sensation, kind of like if you're getting bit by a mosquito or a tick, and so you just change your frequency to get it off.
Because
And
you're
so,
saying that as when piloting the craft, you actually telepathically mind merge, and
mhm.
so if something out in space was to like lock on or clamp on to the ship in space, you as a pilot, you would literally feel like a mosquito bite or something. It would be you have
You
like a
physically
physical.
feel it. The altar that I had that was connected, I only had part of my body attached to the cyborg piece. And so almost my entire body was a cyborg. My left arm, which I found it interesting when I heard, I think it might have been one of Arkim's videos. I've seen so many lately. It's like I'm
Yeah,
digging in. But
I mean, there's
my,
so much testimony out there. That's why.
but they were connected to my brain, and I would hemi-sync so that I could cross, the boundaries of space-time and basically go into the ether or the astral. And basically the connection to the left arm, it would send those electrical impulses up to my brain psychically and basically connect me to the ship. So it's like my brain was the ship's brain. But the membrane, the outside of the ship that I piloted, it was almost like it had a skin. Like a bunch of us call those our dragon ships. And from the outside, it looks like, it might be maybe a football field size of a ship. But on the inside, it looks like it's huge. And so the concept of space time when we're in these magnetic fields is so different that, you could have a ship that on the inside, it's like miles and miles. And you
It's the
could have,
Doctor Who, the TARDIS effect, where they're
Exactly.
literally able to to create these time space bubbles. And I mean, I've heard about this technology being incorporated. It sounds like the ship you were on was utilizing that.
Hmm. Exactly. I love Doctor Who.
You still love Doctor Who, and then it went this woke, weird. I'm sorry. It's just what
I'm
the
so right. Oh, sweet.
like why?
I've
You
never
have to
I've never
DEI
gotten into
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who yet, but I kind of want to check it out myself.
There's some funny
I've
stuff
never
in it.
dived into it. I heard that a lot of it is actually lost. Like they lost the reels and
Oh, really?
like because it used to be a show that was on every week, kind of like a soap opera.
Oh yeah, that
And
BBC. That's the longest
Yeah.
running sci-fi TV show ever. Going
It had
back to
some
that.
funny shit in it. It was like I never could figure out as a kid why I would get so triggered. And now I'm like, oh my God, we were doing that shit. What the hell? And I
It's
love Star
disclosure.
Trek, Star Wars. What was the other one? Eureka, the TV shows into
there's so
Heroes.
many of them. There's so many of them.
Oh, there was so many that have little bits and bytes here and there that, it kind of kept us enough into our little realm of our minds, I guess. But once I finally pulled away, I really don't watch a lot of TV anymore. If I do, it might be once or twice a year. That's really how much TV I watch. I watch documentaries. I love reading books. I love studying. I love research because I want to feel connected and grounded. What is reality? What can I do to really help others? And it's not going to be sitting behind the TV and watching Netflix.
Right. Well, we hope of the books you and the audience read, it's for free online. The Man with the Periwinkle Eyes by John Whitberg, Volume 1, and then Castle of Glass just came out, Volume 2. I hope he's got his suggested donation link or hunt him down and donate to him.
I know I need to read
amazing.
that.
You got to.
In there.
Yeah.
So,
yes, you're probably in there if you're part of Project Ibis. And
yeah, he said that he asked for permission. He said, I know one of your altars, and he put me in there. So I got to read that book.
Yeah, for sure. If one of your altars is in there, yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I couldn't finish the first one, and then he actually told me it's kind of scary, but he told me you might not want to read the second one if you care about your mental health.
Because it was triggering, and Arkim couldn't finish it because it wasn't because it was terrible. It was amazing.
It's actually really well. And the thing I want to say about it too, as somebody who read half of it, it was only because of the trauma associated with it. He's really good at writing. He's a great writer. He should just write. He should write fiction too. He's good at writing.
That's how it was for me with Stranger Things. I couldn't get past the first season. I was throwing up. It was so traumatizing. So yeah. I totally get it, Arkeem. But we can work on that. I definitely would be honored to help you at least get through some of these because I know exactly what you're going through on that. It's very traumatic and it's dark. It's very hard. Sometimes you disassociate so hard because of the trauma that comes out.
Yeah, well, I'll bring up something while we're in this moment being real. For me, when I meditate, I've been, instead of being able to just clear my mind, I'm getting memories of like torturing people, being tortured, being in rooms with like body parts and blood everywhere, and like, so I can't even like do what a normal person should be able to do, like hang out, calm my mind, meditate. Like I'm getting flashbacks of like the shit that happened to me when, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm so what I'm doing now though, and I'm gonna shamelessly just bring it up again. It's not shame. There should be shameless because there's no shame behind it. I want to talk to more people. I want to like have like conversations with people more. I've been saying, yeah, if you can pay me money, I'm trying to do this like full time. It takes time and energy, but I don't want there to be like, if you don't got money, like I still want to talk to you. Here's
sliding scale. This is sliding scale.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, pay
and
it
also
forward.
at the same time, I'm soon I'm doing something with Alondra. I'm gonna have a talk with Alondra Markman soon.
Awesome.
And also I'm gonna speak with Matthew soon about him potentially teaching me a few things, a little bit of an apprenticeship kind of thing. And I also
Matthew
want to talk to you,
Maddie's
Amaria.
amazing.
Basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to just reach out to different people in the community, and I'm trying to get to the position where I can start healing people and start doing for me it's not about like sure, Reiki is one thing, and I also want to be able to know how to do the QHHT. But for me, it's a whole new thing that I got to do, which is alter integration, which no psychologist that's out there doing it right now is doing it. I've looked into it. Like psychologists are right about a lot. Like the ones who are really into it and like specialize in it, they're pretty advanced actually these days. Like they even understand like the concept of alter integration and all that, but they don't understand the spiritual aspect of it, which is where someone like me could come in and probably do a lot of good. So that's what I'm trying to do is kind of set myself up to not be an energy healer or a QHHT or just alter integration, kind of just whatever people need that are in this community that have been dealing with this stuff. I want to be able to provide that for the community. And I'm trying to get over this whole mentality that I'm this dark, demented, broken person.
You speak a lot of light language too, Arkeem. I could see. I mean, I don't know if it's happened spontaneously or what, but I mean, I've witnessed it where you might spontaneously break out into light language, and I think in the proper situations that could be very healing.
Yeah.
I believe in you, Arkeem. I totally believe in you because I have also seen those altars in myself, which are really traumatizing when you see yourself doing things to people that are heinous. But that's not who you are.
Yeah.
Now, you are such a beautiful
I
being.
know, but I just don't know how to. For like one thing, like I talked to Brian privately about some very specific memories earlier, and they're very, very fucked up. And it's like for me, it's like I don't. It's hard for me. Look, I want to expose these people really badly, but the hardest part is that I was forced to participate in the stuff that I hurt people, and that I even at certain points in more than one incarnation became one of these people. You know what I mean? Because you're born into it as a child, and it's
As a Collins, I was burning witches. If that gives you an inkling of what I was doing in that time frame. I have full memory of what I was doing. And at that time, I was dark and I enjoyed it. And that's horrible to think of now. But that's the beautiful thing of our humanity is we're multifaceted. And in order to understand the light, we have to traverse and understand the dark. And so you've gone through that so much. You know what that darkness is, and you want to fix it. That is the important part.
well.
When
Here's
you have
one of the ironies too, and I don't want to go into the whole story because of how dark it is. But basically, had this really dark life altar, was an evil guy that got killed by this assassin. And then I get this. I had another altar that found out about this assassin. He had to explain to this assassin, and I'll say her name. Her name was Asuna. Had to explain to her that like he found her, and she thought that like she's like, "What? I killed you. How are you still alive?" And it's like he had to be like, "I'm a different guy." Explain the clones and the altars. She's like, kind of didn't believe him, so he gave her information that was like really compromising to like the bad guys. He's like, if I was a bad guy, why would I give that to you? And then so that way she met with him, and so he helped her for a while. And it's just like this weird thing where it's kind of just proof of what you said. It's like the real me, because that was, I believe, I'm like 80% on it. It could have been an older author, but I'm pretty sure it was Jacob. And it's because he got out of it and was able to make his own decisions. And once I have been able to make my own decisions, and when I'm not with basically a gun to my head in these programs, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I think I try to do the right thing, at least, and that's what it seems like to me, anyway. So.
You have such a beautiful light spark in you, Ark, and I'm not trying not to just read you without your permission, but I can see that coming off of you. You've got a very beautiful turquoise and rose pink color that actually emanates from your heart center. It's very lovely and very loving.
Well, I think you're both seraphim energy, so that would make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
I think we definitely need to explore our relationship to each other as far as where we could be on the family end of things.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
what I've been finding, we were talking a little bit about disclosure and media and stuff like that earlier, and one of the things that I think kind of happened is, well, Whitberg, myself, I bring him up a lot. I gotta have him on the show again soon. Sorry for talking about you so much, brother.
Oh, you're fine, man.
Well, I just don't know how he feels about me talking about him all the time. I hope he doesn't mind.
I think we all talk about each other a little bit here.
We're plugging his new tell-all book,
We're
so
just
I think it's
before,
okay.
yeah, we're giving him a plug. It's all good. We love John.
Yeah, but what was it that I was saying? Brain fart.
You and John and Amaria may have a lot of links in the programs and bloodline family.
I actually.
Here's the thing.
Right.
We've been having this question. It's been a question on many people's tongues, on the tip of our tongues, which is, did we like put ourselves here, and like, is this a mission, and is like the mission maybe like overthrowing the programs or something? Like, it's all very hypothetical right now. No one is stating that as fact, but it's a valid question, right?
It's a valid question.
Yeah, and so what's crazy is, like, I've talked about Appleton, Wisconsin a lot, obviously, where I'm from there, how it's very weird, Truman Show kind of shit going on. There's an underground base there. It's like the people have got a lot of mind control stuff going on. It's the drunkest city in the United States. Because of the trauma. That's the thing. It's people don't understand. Like they're like, oh, like they're all proud of it. It's like, no, that's a response to trauma, you idiots.
Right.
But they just don't realize it. They're not thinking about it. But anyway, like I really do think like it's because the whole town has got assets and stuff like that. Well, there's the show Inside Job. This is what I'm getting the disclosure thing and getting to this whole spiel and bringing it all in together. Is the last episode, and spoiler alerts, last spoiler alerts, but you really could just go back and start watching the movie. It doesn't matter. I really think it's like a cartoon, and the point is of the plot. It's to have some good laughs. But anyway, I guess the plot, if you spoiler alert if you care about plots, I guess. But the last episode is the agents. It's a couple, and they're talking about how one of them pitches leaving the programs to basically like memory wiping themselves and putting themselves into a new fake life so that they can no longer, so that they don't have to be in the programs anymore, and so they can escape. And she said, or no, I was thinking it was him. He said Appleton, Wisconsin, because it's somewhere where you could go where no one would find you and you could just blend in and no one really thinks about or cares about it. Wisconsin, which is literally what I've been saying. Literally exactly what I've been saying before the episode even came out. It got brought up by people who watch the show. That's how I found out about it. I don't even really watch the show. And I just thought that was so crazy. Like, and like, yeah, like, so they have like fake identities, fake memories, fake picture books with deep fake photos and stuff like that. And they give themselves new lives in Appleton, Wisconsin. And like, I just don't think that's a coincidence. And then here's another really weird thing. Like, and this might just sound like, but I think people that watch this show will get it. But I'm gonna be fully transparent. I guess this is a footnote that I feel like bringing up just in case kind of thing. I thought it was really weird that like me and my friends in Appleton always joke about Air Bud. Like it's just funny to us. Like the fact that those movies even exist. Like there's no rule that says a dog can't play basketball. Like it's an inside joke between me and my friends. And the side plot for the show, for the episode, which just freaked me out. Cat even was aware of this inside joke. I was like, what the heck? Was Air Bud, get this, they changed the timeline, and one of the anomalies left over is Air Bud. And they're like, we have to get rid of Air Bud. And he's like, why? He's a cute dog that plays basketball. And he's like, because they're eventually going to join the NBA, and then the dogs get good at basketball, and then that gives them the animosity to take over the world, and then the world's ruled by dogs. All because of Air Bud. And he's just like, I love it. And he's just like, but so the CIA is like, you gotta, or whatever the secret program, they're like, you gotta kill Air Bud, man. and the whole episode he's like on the run with Airbud because he's like, I can't kill him, and like the CIA people are after him because he's with Airbud, and then like he's finally like he comes back to the base. He's like, what are you doing here? We've been looking for him or whatever. He's like, I figured it out. We made a rule that says the dogs can't play basketball. Problem solved. Like I don't have to kill Airbud. It was so weird because I was like talking to my buddy Kieran. I'm like, did we write this in the astral realm or something? Like, what is going on here? This is bizarre. Like, this literally sounds like you and me got stoned with the fucking writers for this show and hung out and wrote this or something.
And spoofed a real type of time mission, which you've done. And then Amaria, do you remember, and I know we're getting to our 2-hour point. I was gonna ask Amaria, do you have any recall of any time travel missions?
Yeah, and I actually have pictures, which I thought was really interesting. Yeah. There's a picture. I've got pictures. One of them's from World War I. It's got Stephanie Farlow, Laura Eisenhower, and me. And we're all walking, we're wearing World War I garb, which is also matching, I think, the Nachtwaffen group. And we're next to a rail car. There's another photo. Yep, I can actually send you those pictures if you want me to send
you. Have you shared it with Laura Eisenhower yet?
I did. I did when I met her. Is there any
way if we could bring them up on the show right now? Is that possible?
Right now, let me see.
Do you have them? Yeah, we got to see that.
Let me see if I can pull it up.
It would be. I'm sure. Airbud. I actually watched it recently. Wholesome movie, brings me back in time. You know, it's kind of cheesy, but you don't watch it because it's a freaking Oscar winning film. You watch it because it's a dog playing basketball.
And if you're high while watching it, we'll understand.
Okay. Are you on your computer right now? Do you think you can pull that up?
I think she's looking.
Did she get frozen?
No, she got really quiet. I think she's speaking in the background.
Oh. I think it froze her. They do not want her to show this shit.
Yeah, photographic evidence. I was going back and forth with someone in our community.
That's crazy.
Just as we're getting to the good stuff. No.
That's the thing is like I'm really tired of people being like there isn't any evidence. I have told people, I'm like, if you find photos of any of the asylum nightclubs, any of them, and you look, there's got to be pictures of me out there, okay? I know that there are pictures with me in them, there's Andrew Brasiago, and now we have Amaria.
So I just sent it to you on Messenger. Sorry, I guess it kicks me off whenever I go to my other app.
Well, that's okay. Our
team can pull it out.
I can share it on my screen. Just 1 second. I'm gonna pull it up and then.
I've got a few others of different other people, but yeah, they're really interesting. The pictures that I have found. I found those about 2 years ago online, and so I thought this one was fascinating. I think actually I found that one in 2020.
Wait, so you sent it to me on Facebook?
On Messenger.
Hold on. I just refreshed it and it doesn't show it.
Can you message me?
Well, it's gonna kick her off.
Oh yeah, problem. That's right.
I don't know why it's not letting me. That's just come on, man. Well, try to send it to Brian. I think it's important. Okay. If it kicks you off, we can just bring you right back on.
Yeah, let me see.
Yeah, the other side's blocking us for sure. Because that's one of the things that Andrew Bagiago has is he's got that photo of him as a child at the Gettysburg Address wearing oversized shoes.
It just took a second.
Oh, good.
Holy shit, dude. Okay, we're gonna share it now. 1 second. This is crazy. All right. Share screen. Hello.
Okay, I just sent it to Brian as well. Oh, good, that came up.
So, I'm sorry I can't zoom in on it. People, or can? Let me see. Yeah, I can. So, look, is that Laura?
Yeah, Laura Eisenhower is the one on our left. Stephanie Farlow is in the middle, and then I'm on the right.
Huh, that's
And I
interesting.
got this out of an archive in 2020 when I typed in World War One super soldiers.
And when you saw this image, did it did it trigger anything for you?
A little bit. I know that I had been in some time travel things. A lot of us that have the ability to be pilot navigators have those time travel. I mean, they use that with the looking glass technology when we were in Montauk. And so, I mean, it could have been in other programs. I'm not as, like I said, adept. Like our team is amazing with coming up with like the actual names of programs, where a lot of the memories that I've had have been really fragmented. One of the reasons we discussed during your session is how I was split. Um, I guess I could share it towards the end of this right now. When I was in Kruger, you know how they basically sever part of our body, and they didn't want my heart and my mind to be in the same body because of how strong I am. And so they split me into two super soldiers by removing my head. There was an AI machine that basically severed all the muscles in my neck hair and pulled my head off of my body. And the super soldier that was connecting to the ships with my brain was connected to a completely cyborg run body. It had an artificial type blood that was used that matched my blood so that my brain and my facial muscles and my eyes could be able to be remaining alive. I had a cyborg eye on my left eye that could connect to the body. The super soldier that was my heart was the one that was working on the medbed programs at Mars. And so part of the reason I had so many issues with the fragments on that particular timeline with those two super soldiers, which was actually one, because you cannot separate the heart brain. Even though we were separate in different bodies, my body had a cyborg head in those programs whenever I was working with the regen tanks and the different things like that. And so having the memories with my heart connected to a cyborg head and then my brain connected to the cyborg body doing the things that I did, we're still sending signals to each other because that's what we do. We're connected beings with our our brain, our heart brain, and we have a gut brain. We actually have 3 brains in our body. And so it's very confusing for the body when you're split like that. And I know that I'm not the only super soldier that was split that way. But it didn't cause me to conform as much as they wanted, because once I figured out how to hemisync with my heart from a distance, because we still have that singularity. Whenever, you've got a fragment of yourself or a mother child, a lot of us have heard of those technologies, basically.
You can interlink even though the
Exactly.
distance. Now, you mentioned just now that you've seen that happen, that they've done this to other people in the programs.
There's other super soldiers.
While we're on the topic, are you able to name anybody that you remember from the programs at
Just
all?
when I meet someone in person, I connect with their energy. A lot of people will say, "Do you remember me?" I can't say yes until I interact with that person, because for me, it's a frequency, a vibration. I recognize your soul because we don't always have the same facial features. And a lot of us, when we're mind wiped, we lose a lot of those details, but you don't lose that connection. And so when I'm actually with someone, I actually had a twin brother in the programs. I think I found him again, which actually Bill Tysing, we've been talking with how we're connected. I actually think he might have been my twin brother.
And he's been the one who's been developing a lot of this Tesla type
We're working
cloudbuster
together
technology, I think.
Right, because we're making the proto medbed, and with my Ganzonite, his bubble tech, the Janisa crystal, we're using the violet ray technology from Tesla, and I'm also adding. I just got a near infrared light. I got to save up to get the mat, but the far infrared pad.
Far infrared amethyst mat.
Mhm.
Yep. And then, do you have any recall of Susan Long? I mean, because I know
Yes.
you know.
She
Can
was
you
one of my
speak to that?
She was one of my main trainers in Montauk. taught me how to basically leave my body and go over the rainbow to separate myself when we were being tortured, because the torture was so traumatic that we would basically become catatonic if we didn't. And so we
Did
learned how to
astrally
do
project
that.
out,
Yes. And so we
and
would
she
actually,
taught you that.
she taught me that. She trained me how to do holy fire Reiki in the programs. And a lot of the psionics that I use now is what I was trained by her to actually use.
Because she may have some kind of dragon lineage as well
Oh
in
God, yeah.
her incarnational past.
She
Yeah.
definitely has the Fey lineage as well. We both do through a lot of our Scottish and Irish lines that we have.
Is that the
Um,
shape shifting?
The
What do you?
shapeshifting. I do shapeshift. If I go totally vegan for long enough, it does something to my body. And I actually have a video on YouTube I could send you where the first about second to 2 seconds you can see my eyes actually shapeshift on video.
Morphing, yeah.
I
I've seen,
decided
and I've seen Susan shapeshift
yeah,
in
she
person.
Other
turned
people have
blue
too.
and purple, and so I decided to go back to eating meat because of that, because it was scaring people. But just because someone's a shapeshifter, it doesn't mean that we're bad.
Oh
A
yeah,
lot
no,
of
no.
people, a lot of us that have the Royal Draco and the other different reptoid lines in us that do shapeshift, you know, it's person to person. You can know somebody that can be a total douchebag and they pretend to be this nice, awesome, beautiful person, or you can know somebody that's, you know, pretty cool. They might not be the most gorgeous person outwardly, but when you connect with that soul, you're like, wow, you are the most beautiful person I've ever seen. I've known people that are total reptilians that are the most beautiful and loving souls.
Oh yeah,
And then
yeah.
other people that might say, well, you know, I'm Pleiadian. Okay, so Pleiadians have an agenda, and I'm sorry to say to a lot of people, most of the Pleiadians I know are not white. They look like Native Americans. So I'm sorry, but the actual Pleiadians I know are not white. Those are
I've heard
Germans.
that the Germans, the space
The
Germans,
space
love
Germans.
when people wake up during when they're being abducted. A lot of times they're just like, "Oh, we're Palladians. It's all groovy." You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's exactly what
Well,
they
like,
do.
We're not here to kidnap you for the space fleet. We're about to do an ayahuasca ceremony. Just chill out, bro.
Most of the Pleiadians I've dealt with actually have kind of caramel skin. They have brown or black hair, brown eyes usually, or green eyes. Some of them have had red hair, but I've never really seen a Pleiadian with white skin and white hair. I mean, maybe they exist,
I
but
wouldn't
I've
be
never.
surprised. Think about humans. We got different variations.
I mean,
So,
I wouldn't be
you know.
surprised either, but the ones that I've connected with, they're probably ancestors, and they usually have darker hair and more caramel skin. Oh, I see your fur baby.
oh yeah, what's one of them? This Vinny boy.
Vinny
Or
the
Vinny.
man.
Hey, buddy.
Vinny. He
Vinny
is a
the
pit bull.
man.
Vinny's a
Let's
mini pitty.
see.
And then
Aw,
I got Minnie here. Minnie.
aw, what a
Oh,
sweetheart.
and then Winnie. Oh, and Patch. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. We have 10 dogs, so.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of patience right there.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of love.
I love it.
A lot of love. Well, we should have you back, Amaria.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Definitely, and you know, there's like different segments we can hit. Like,
I think we should have you
Yeah.
back with I've been just thinking like this would be a great idea to have you and Dan on the show.
and
Oh, that'd be
Susan
Yeah.
Long.
And Susan, that would be good too. But with the Mormon thing and
absolutely. Yeah, Dan and I have actually talked about that a little bit.
yeah, so but we need to have another show, Mormon SSP Part 2.
There we go.
Yeah, because we already did
I
one
think
show.
actually Nate Gray actually is Mormon as well.
Yeah, Nate can speak. I think to that as well. Yeah, and in his experiences, a lot of his childhood memories of being visited by people in the programs, and it sounds like they're kind of trying to feel him out. Like, do you remember me? Do you remember? And he's like, yeah. And in some cases, he does.
Yeah, it was just really just such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
My sister, whatever you are. We'll figure that out
I mean,
eventually.
hey, there's so many possibilities with the gene pool that we have going on that it wouldn't surprise me at all that we were siblings.
So
Because you look so much like my son, and I know a lot of times we have children that look so much like siblings.
it's all so weird, right? And you look like my mom, so it's like Jesus. It's just it's very bizarre when you find out all this stuff. And there's been certain people who have criticized me for talking about this. Like, oh, he thinks everybody's related to him. It's like, look, man, I'm sorry, it's real.
I mean, we all are.
If you think
Sure.
I'm wrong, then you don't have eyes, because you can see that you can see that we're related.
That we're related.
Yeah, it's all there. Like, if anybody was actually looking and using discernment, and really, it's like it's there. But anyway, I guess we'll wrap things up. Again, let people know your email and stuff like that, so that they can get a hold of you if they want to do work with you and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So heartmindexpressions@outlook.com.
Heartmindexpressions@outlook.com.
Correct. And I do have my my community website I could send to you later. It's kind of weird with the Heart Mind because there's some dashes and stuff in it. It's one of the mighty networks. But I've been building that, and so anybody that wants to join, it's free. There is discussion boards. I do have people like Alex Bloom is my psychologist there, so I refer anybody to him that needs a psychologist. He's got a great 5D university program that he's done. Cheryl Arbogast is my RN, and so I refer people to her if they need any.
She spoke at our conference, bringing the Tesla MedBed stuff with Paul Esch.
She's amazing.
Excellent.
And so I've got people like that. Bill Tysing is one of my engineers. Susan's one of my Reiki masters. And I have a local Reiki master here as well, Kira Emery, that is also amazing. She does white magic. She's a Wicca witch. And so anybody that connects to that energy, she's such a phenomenal worker. She's a beautiful young lady. So.
Excellent.
Awesome. I'm going to wrap up the show now, guys. Thanks for being here, so Amaria, and I'll see you later.
Thank you, Amaria. And thank you, everybody. Cheers, Arkeem. We'll be in touch.
We will. Bye. Definitely. So everybody, make sure to come back tomorrow at the same time for Virtual Temple Complex. And I just want to remind people that I'm really trying to just talk with you all more, figure this all out together more, and just be more open with people. So I do have this new email for people to try to schedule appointments with me and speak with me. And I want people to know also that the Patreon, I discounted it. It's $5 now to join. The $10 tier is still there if people want to pay $10. Thank you so much. But I made it cheaper. And I'm also going to be posting some free content over there just to get people over there to check it out, because I really think it's important. YouTube doesn't really pay the bills, you guys, and it's just they can shut down the channel at any time, and Patreon's just kind of not bad about all that stuff. They're pretty decent about stuff. And I also just want to say thank you. I have a video at the end, but I just want to personally say it to the people: Renee Fontana, Mark Sabas, Katie Mabry, Ursula, Zach Blessington, Arian, Gary Fretz, and Peter Harlemos. These are my Patreon subscribers. I have 9 of them. I want a lot more. I want a little community over there. I have a free community, the Disclosure Now community, so check that over there on Discord. Check out the Discord. We're trying to make it so if they try to shut down the YouTube channel, there's other stuff going on, and we're set up, and we got a network going on here. That's what we're kind of trying to do here. So just everybody check that out. And I do, want to say too, if you can provide a donation, if you enjoyed the show tonight, paypal.me/ArkeemRaw. I am like $60 short on my rent right now, and I got about a week. So you guys would really help. I think I might have some my book payments kicking in, but I'm not sure when, which is kind of sketching me out. So if people want to help, that's also appreciated, so I can continue to provide this free show, free content on YouTube. That's what it's all about. Is you don't have to donate to the PayPal, you don't have to join the Patreon, but the people who do help it keep this free for everybody and make it so I can keep doing this, and that's pretty awesome. So with that being said, I got a little video at the end. Thank you all for being here and watching the show, and being for listening, hearing our voices and helping get this information out there. Please share this with your friends. Please like, please subscribe, and have a good one, guys.